1, 2, 3, listen.
Let's go back to the audience and how to reach that, because I think it's becoming more and more, you have to become more and more creative to actually reach your audience. Because there's so many different ways, so that's, even if we don't talk about putting food on the table, yeah, even if you don't care about that, you will care about a lot of people seeing your film. How do you get that film to people?
The fact that people see your film doesn't mean that you get to benefit from it either. The mechanisms that, that get films out there are not necessarily benefiting filmmakers. It's not, there's no...
But in the end, even if you don't care about making money with it, you want people to see your film, is that?
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to get, if you are passionate about making something, and hopefully when you go make something, you should be. That's the most important ingredient. You can fail passionately, but that will be a beautiful thing.
But how do you guys see, I mean, everything is changing, cinema is in big crisis everywhere. How do you see, how do you get your film in front of an audience?
Well, crisis and no crisis. There's a lot of people suddenly making films because there's technology that people can embrace it without the previous education of how to, and they make things that nobody would have thought about because they weren't polluted by systems that tell them what's right and what's wrong.
But what is your strategy to stick out of the crowd? Because there's so many now. That's what I'm interested in, because that's the challenge.
No, it's your strategy to stick out of the crowd is to do the best thing you can with the best of your abilities in the moment. And that's what you can hope for. Yeah. To do really the best to your ability in the moment. You always have limitations. You not always have your best day. Not every day is your smartest, and not every day you wrote the best page in your life. But as long as you continue.
And the size of the audience is not really the most important thing. I mean, if you manage to do the film, to make the film that you really want to make, and if it's only like a few hundred people who see it, and if you reach some people and if you touch some people, that's okay. You don't need mass audiences.
Yeah.
No, but in the end, you want to reach the people you want to reach, right? So.
Yes, yeah, but as you said, you just do the best film possible that you can do and express exactly what you wanted to express, and then, then it's. It's how it is. It doesn't matter.
We see massive movies that don't reach an audience, and we see there's plenty of examples. So there's no, there's a formula, but that formula, the formula that's very successful is not necessarily where experimentation happens.
I mean, that's an interesting question for maybe not the filmmakers. There should be more offers from other structures, from distribution structures that build things in the internet. And create platforms where like competitions of films are. I mean, but that's normally filmmakers are not the people who are really good in actually marketing their own stuff. Because
do you think they need to be?
No, I don't think so. There should be people who want to do that work, and they should do it, because the filmmakers should really focus on the filmmaking work.
You get pushed into that place if you are protecting something. It's very hard when you make something. You feel like you. In a way, I like to think about it like when you make something, it has to become some organism.
Yeah.
And the best thing you could feel is that you gave it a life, and it will have its own life. Whether it's successful or not successful, at the end of it, you want to feel that it can take care of itself. That's the best feeling you can have.
A lot of filmmakers are very successful these days with crowdsourcing, like also like just like finding an audience before the film is actually done. By getting people excited about it, by kind of like putting out things while it's being made.
Yeah, it's true. But particularly it fits certain things. But crowdsourcing is dangerous also. Yeah. You're exposing a fetus. It's something that's not ready for oxygen yet.
A lot of pressure on yourself.
And you're putting yourself in the incubation phase into influence that's beyond your own control in a time where it's very, very sensitive.
But at the end, it doesn't matter. You can just tell anything. I mean, you don't have to really talk about what you actually want to do.
That's true.
You just make something very appealing, and you want some money. That's
true. Sometimes you have to
lie.
It's true.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But I think what would be interesting would be to get more. I mean, there are so many film universities today, and you have so many producers and directors. They are formed there, and I think what would be interesting would be like people who don't want to be directors or producers, but they want to do something with films and who love distribution, and to find new ways there, and to form and have education for these people, that they get created and find new ways of helping all these films that get made. So.
It's a good point. If there's the one obsession with everybody wanting to make a feature film, the other one is everybody wanting to be a director.
Yeah,
so
but there are people who love to produce, and there are people who love to distribute, and I think there should be universities for distribution, or at least more education for that, and that they can have more fantasy.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things that passion is addictive. If you are passionate about your project, like Noah said, like if you cannot live in a state where you like, I need to do this, I need to do this, and if you're passionate something, there people will catch on to that passion. Somebody will, who sees that fire in your eyes and sees the value of that, will catch on to that. It's just, it might not happen the moment when you want it, but it will happen at some point.
What about film festivals? I mean, I find sometimes these days you have to have, if you go the film festival route, you have to have a strategy, because there's festivals that have, you know, like exclusivity demands that kind of like, they want to be the premier festival of a country, and you really have to think about when you submit to what. With feature films even more, of course, because if you miss a deadline, you're not eligible for that anymore and stuff like that, and then they don't take you. What's the next one you're going to move to? During all this time, people do not see your film, which is a problem for many films which are timely and which need to be seen. So how do you deal with that? I mean, it's like I know filmmakers, and I was involved personally as a DP with a short film where the director said, I'm gonna not put up with that. I'm gonna actually finance my film through crowdfunding. And he did put up a concept that he completely changed, but he put it online when it was done, and by now it has like 3.5 million views, which it never would have gotten if it was going through the film festival route, and it actually secured him his first feature film now. But on the other hand, it's a hard decision to make, because you want to be able to put those logos and these prices on your poster, right? Because it also means a lot for funding bodies. So how do you decide for that?
It might sound naive, but the movie will kind of shows you how it wants to be exposed somehow. There's signs when you work on it, and it just tells you it's supposed to go to a festival. You kind of sense it if you're lucky enough, and they show you, they're going to also nurture you and help you. But if it's not supposed to, it kind of also gives you a hint that you can maybe release it. It's ready. Maybe you don't need that help. You get a sense for it, I think.
But how do you feel about the danger of you know, like being stuck in that waiting loop for too long? Because I've experienced it, and it's like
everybody has to. I don't know. It's a nice danger. It's exciting, and there's good people watching your film, even if they didn't select it to one place. You might meet them, and they would have seen it, and they will help you in another way. There's no harm in sending it into these institutions. And also there's a lot of funding structures within many good festivals, not necessarily the famous, the higher ones that everybody knows, but there's many festivals that have work-in-progress programs where you can bring a feature in different stages and get people involved and get people to watch it from larger festivals that might later come in, or involve sales agents if you need to, if that's necessary for your project. You have to do the research, and you have to see, and you're going to make all your mistakes, hopefully in your first one or two large projects, and that's great. But and you'll make new ones the next time. And it's always going to be painful, wonderful mistakes that will teach you that it's a tough thing to do. Yeah. It's not supposed to be easy. And they're not supposed to be a golden way paved for everybody to reach everywhere. You need to work hard to make something that's worth watching. You know, that's the point.
and you should try to find people who help you. I mean, you cannot expect from yourself that you are a filmmaker and you can do all of that, and then you are a distribution specialist who finds the best strategy for the film. You should, if you have no money, you should try to find people to convince them that they help you, who are specialized in that. In the US, there are distribution consultants, and you can talk to these people, but never try it only on yourself and then fail and then not do it anymore, and then just try to find help. I mean, you don't have to do everything on your own. I mean,
that's a good point. Yeah, I think there's also a little bit of an obsession in our world that, you know, the media talks about the director, but it's like always a huge team. Even if it's a small movie, it's a huge team of people behind a project, and it would be completely different or non-existent if most of these people were not part of it. So.
The technology should be democratized, but the part that sifts through the content shouldn't be. There should be an oversight, because it's good.
Yeah, I tried being part of a collaborative movie project where everybody had it was like 15 directors on the feature film. I was one of them, and everybody directed a segment. It was a lesson in filmmaking that I do not want to repeat. So, I think it's a good point that you raised, that not every filmmaker needs to be a good marketer, but sometimes they have to be in order to survive as a filmmaker, because it can be a very frustrating project if you pour your whole life energy into a project and then nobody ends up seeing it because you are not able or willing to, you know, take the painstaking process of actually promoting it. And
if you realize that, if you notice that you are one of these, then really get help. Don't just let it there. I mean, that happens a lot. Yeah. And I think there should be more platforms or more festivals or more competitions in the internet. There should be like potent groups of interest, and like Olympus. That's exactly what I think should be much more there.
Even, for example, the Vimeo Stuff Picks. I mean, even if it's not a festival, but if you're really doing great work, what you guys said, if you're just loving what you're doing and you're pushing yourself really to the limit, and the audience can see it, you get the chance that, for example, on Vimeo they highlight it, and then much more people see it, and some new things coming up. So it's a solution as well.
I love going to Vimeo and looking for work for people that you might want to work with. Different technicians, cinematographers, sound designers. It's a beautiful platform for that, and you can spend weeks sifting through it and finding such great things.
Yeah, you find the right people there. Yeah, definitely. So, Janne, you wanted to add something to?
No, yeah, I think one of the things, like my personal experience, is I am a perfectionist, and that's a problem when it comes to putting our stuff out there. I feel like the fear of rejection and fear of not being good enough is robbing the viewers of so much good cinema, of so much good content out there. That's one thing. Is like you know, I learned it the hard way. It took me a decade almost to actually start releasing my own stuff, like honestly. And that's just a thing that I realized. Like the worst thing that can happen is that some idiot doesn't get my art. You know, you gotta trust that if you really feel like, you know, this should be done, then it should be done, and then put it out there. And if nobody likes it, then who cares? Make another one that you like, because you're doing it for yourself, in the first place, because you have a passion to tell a story.
Well, filmmakers are sensitive people, and sometimes have a hard time just putting themselves, because they feel like they're bragging when they put out their work. But when in reality, I think a lot of times putting out your work in public just leads to other projects. Yeah. And it leads to things that you would not have thought about. I mean, it's like how often somebody saw something that I did, or, you know, like, and it led to this other project because this person contacted me and then we worked together or something like that. It's like all the time. Yeah. And same with passion projects, I find. It's like you do something just because you like it, and then it actually leads up to a commercial. Yeah. Because somebody hires you, because in the passion project you usually show what you can, and it shines through, right? So people actually see that and recognize that, and then you get.
Yeah, this is why you're right. You have to go out and just do something.
I mean that
and
fear of reaction. That is, of course, something that if you're thinking about making films, that's the first thing that you have to think about, because rejection is that's the core of this whole business.
Yeah.
And the sooner you get used to it, and the sooner you accept it, and the sooner you just put films out and you learn how that is that you get difficult comments or hard critic, that's good, because that's really one of the most important part of the process becoming a filmmaker.
Thanks for watching this segment of our roundtable discussion with filmmakers here in Copenhagen in Denmark. In our next segment, we're going to discuss the question if technology is actually enabling or preventing people from being creative. Thanks for watching this segment.